The NFL has kicked off with a great game last night between the Bucs and the Cowboys in Tampa. Wow, what a game down to the wire. Ryan Suckup wins it for the Bucs. Tom Brady does it again. Great performance by Dak Prescott. And a lesson learned, maybe, or a lesson taught, at least. I don't know if it was learned, but a lesson taught on how to win in the NFL. And Zach has that lesson. Zach's still in Dallas, flying back today because we've got our Titans game day live coming up on Sunday from the mainstay for Titans Cardinals in week 1. And so curious to hear how lit it was at Texas Live last night for that game, which was really close between the Cowboys and the Bucs. So curious to hear about that and other conversation about what Dak Prescott did. And did the Titans pay attention last night? And did they pick up on this lesson on how to win in the NFL? Then we'll talk about a Ryan Tannehill discussion. Then I've got 2 non-Titans NFL storylines to keep an eye on for this upcoming Sunday. Then we're going to ask you guys what's one thing you're most excited to watch in NFL's Week 1. We've got SEC Week 2 picks against the spread and our mortgage picks of the week. And then ain't that good news to send us all to the weekend, a full slate of football weekend for the first time this season. So very excited to have you guys join us on the show. Zach, welcome in. Hope your Friday morning is off to a good start.
Yeah, and I mean, last night confirms how much I love regular season football and how I'm so glad that preseason is done and they've cut that thing down to 3 games because they don't play to their full capacity. Last night, everybody was playing to their full capacity, and there's a redemption story. I think maybe in 2 different ways, but that was an outstanding game. I don't think the NFL, what they did, they lost a lot of money last year due to COVID. So what did they do? They had the greatest player in their sport of all time open up at home, coming off of a Super Bowl championship against the most popular team in America. And fireworks. It was awesome.
Most popular team in America and most hate-watched team in America.
Right. Yeah, you could say. But the Dallas Cowboys are America's team. They are the most popular. We know that based on looking at the analytics as well as we I could just tell you being in this market for the last month. It's nutso. It is crazy. Last night was a great game, though. We'll take some away. And I think that you, as you said, Austin, I think you can kind of pinpoint some lessons learned last night that maybe going into this NFL season, we talked a lot about, yesterday about expectation. We'll dive more into that based on last night's game. But before we do, we are broadcasting live on Twitch, on Twitter, on YouTube, and on Facebook. We got you covered on all of those platforms. Make sure you retweet the show if you're watching on Twitter. We need to pop up your Twitter followers timeline. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got you covered there. More content going out. And if you're on Facebook, what's going on, Facebookers? More people will pile in over the next 5 to 10 minutes as you guys do. Please share the show, share the broadcast. Bottom left corner of your screen, share now to public. Sharing is caring and caring is sharing. Let's get this party started on Friday.
Yep, let's do it officially. And we're almost 4 minutes in. Still waiting on that Facebook notification. But let's get it going officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered by BetMGM. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham in Dallas. Make sure you follow us all over social media, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok. We're Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, and we go live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time. Got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us, and they help out you guys. Renters Warehouse Nashville, the professional landlords in the area at renterswarehouse.com. Mandu, the Pulse of Fitness, 1 15-minute workout equals 5+ hours in the weight room at mandu.com. Your first workout's free. Wilson County Hyundai, if you need a new car, check out what they have to offer in Lebanon at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Calvin and Subtle for your brand new hardwood floors and finishings at calvinandsubtle.com. And the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. So, Zach, the Cowboys almost pulled it off. I mean, it was crazy of how that game went last night. Is that the Bucs had multiple opportunities to pull away by 2 scores, and turnovers didn't allow that to happen. I saw this, and it was it's one of the first times that a team has turned the ball over 4 times in a game and still won in the opening week of the season, let alone it's the defending Super Bowl champs. But overall, how did you feel about watching that Cowboys-Bucs game? You felt it from a couple different emotions because you're a lifelong Bucs fan who's coming off of a Super Bowl championship, and you were in Dallas at the launch of our A to Z Sports Dallas market in Texas Live, watching their home team really go toe-to-toe with the defending champs.
Well, yeah, and I was surrounded by 1,000 Cowboy fans at Texas Live because the thing holds like 6,000 people. And that's probably what we're going to be getting into in a couple of weeks on Monday night against the Eagles. But yeah, I did. I had mixed emotions. I was, that 90s song Torn. I was torn.
Yeah.
Like that's where I was. But deep down, I'll be honest. I wanted the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win. I'm a Bucs fan first. And the whole reason why we do this stuff and the reason why I'm passionate about sports is because, weirdly enough, it's because of the Bucs. Because, I grew up in Nashville. Quick story. Grew up in Nashville. They didn't have an NFL team. NFL, yes, hadn't come. And I went to my first NFL game when I was 7 in 1994 for the Bucs against the LA Rams, the then LA Rams, before they moved to St. Louis and back to LA. And that's been my team. Tampa Bay, they were the better team last night, even though, man, it was just a great game. It was a great back and forth because Tampa, who's picked by 8.5 points, and you called that yesterday.
Or 9.5 is what he got up to.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Well, a little too much, right? And you kind of called that yesterday. Tampa made plenty of mistakes, though, right? Chris Godwin himself, I know he made the big play down the sidelines on that back shoulder catch, but he made mistakes. He missed a perfectly thrown deep ball to get them in scoring position. He fumbled the football at the goal line. These are things that you cannot do, and the Cowboys were unable to take full advantage of some of those mistakes. And we know what the Bucs are. The Bucs are driven by solid defense and Tom Brady. They have so many weapons. They just have to make sure Leonard Fournette doesn't mess them up, and they don't make mistakes, right? They let the Cowboys back into that game, but it just wasn't enough. But, man, it was exciting when Zerline, I mean, you hear people rumbling in this bar like, cut Zerline, cut his ass. Or like in the second quarter after he missed the field goal and the extra point. Yeah. And then they're praying to Greg Zerline at the end to get them the 1-point lead before giving the ball back to Tom Brady.
Yeah,
so it was fun.
It was kind of similar to the Titans Broncos game week 1 from last year on prime time. And it wasn't to the extent, but Steven Gostkowski missed 4 kicks and then hit the game winner. So Greg Zerline missed 2 kicks. One was from 60, so you don't really fault him that much. And then an extra point, and then he hit what could have been a game winner, but Tom Brady got it done. And there's a lot of comments from you guys this morning. Colton saying if Dak is healthy, that Cowboys offense is good. I mean, it's better than good, man. They have weapons galore. They don't even use Ezekiel Elliott, who's making $15, $16 million a year. They don't even give him the damn ball. But
that was an interesting game plan. That was a Kellen Moore game plan. I don't think that it was a anti-Zeke. He's done. I think that was just the game plan to go in, and they felt like they're going to have to compete with Tom Brady in that offense. And at the end of the day, they did. Now, CeeDee Lamb has to learn how to catch early on in that game. But he did have a little bit of redemption late. But that offense is powerful. And
oh, man.
God, I mean, it is refreshing, right? Probably for Cowboy fans not to see old Gucci Danucci or Gilbert or Andy Dalton out there, and they finally have their star back.
Right. So Dak throws for 400. CeeDee Lamb goes for over 100, scores a touchdown. I mean, there's just a lot of plays made last night. Brady throwing for 300 plus and 4 touchdowns. So, I mean, really great season opener. But, Zach, what lesson did it teach us all about how to win in the NFL?
So this topic was actually brought up in our post-game show, A to Z Sports Dallas, with Jesse Holley, a former Dallas Cowboys wide receiver, and our host, Will Steele. And they were talking about kind of the elite conversation of Dak. We all know Dak is better than those backups that were mentioned before. And he came back, he had to get his sea legs under him, right? His legs as he's coming off of that gruesome injury. But I think the lesson that we all learned, and more importantly, NFL football fans have learned going into this season, if you're trying to compete with the greatest of all time, because the Bucs have the crown. You got to take it away from them. They're not going to go down by just handing over that Lombardi trophy. And that is, at the end of the game, if you're an elite team and you're an elite quarterback, you have to close the game out. You have to have the wherewithal and the capability to not just settle for a game-leading field goal, but to get first downs and not give the ball back to the best quarterback. And that's something that Dak was unable to do. They had that great play by CeeDee Lamb down the sideline that got them into scoring position. Mm-hmm. And then what happened? First down, nothing happened. They ran it with Zeke. And then second down happened. Then they had a holding penalty that pushed them back to 3rd and forever. You can't have 3rd and 20 and expect to win, because what happened? They gave the ball back to the Bucs with a $1:42 on the clock.
24.
A 24
a $1:24.
I'm a little dyslexic there with 42.
84 seconds.
And here's the key.
One timeout.
The Bucs burned a timeout because of a penalty.
Yeah.
Then Brady throws the ball in the stands 3 straight times. You cannot allow that to happen if you are an elite quarterback. Because in those moments, Austin, the reason why I brought this up for today's show is because of what we did on yesterday's show. And we talked a lot about Super Bowl aspirations. We heard A.J. Brown talk about them. The chat was live yesterday. And one of the things we're talking about, can the Titans win a Super Bowl? I think the lesson I learned last night is, can Ryan Tannehill, A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, and Derrick Henry as a group led by Ryan Tannehill close out a game like last night and not give the ball back to Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, because God knows he can't run the ball anymore with his running backs or lack thereof.
Well, they're bringing it. Like the Ravens are very lucky that Latavius Murray is just kind of walking around like available. Like, hey,
but can they close out a game and not give the ball back? Because the same thing happens with elite quarterbacks like Tom Brady. They go down there and they get points.
All right, so you're talking about, can the Titans, if they were Dak Prescott and the Cowboys last night, score a touchdown, not just settle for a field goal, or at least get one more first down?
Yeah, you don't want to score a touchdown. You want to get one. You want to move the sticks and use Zeke, in this case Derrick Henry, if we're talking about the Titans, to move the sticks and force the Bucs to waste all their timeouts. And instead of Ryan Suckup kicking the game-winning field goal, Greg Zuerlein kicks a 32-yarder.
All right, so that's interesting. I think you're right. I mean, the lesson is you cannot give Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, maybe Russell Wilson. I mean, there's Josh Allen's kind of a tweener in that. You cannot give the top 5 quarterbacks in this league over a minute
24 seconds.
You cannot give them over a minute, because here's the crazy thing is that the Bucs got in winning range super quick. And if they needed a touchdown, they could have scored a touchdown to win that game if they had to have it. But Brady just decided to, play it safe, throw it in the stands a few times just to run the clock down even further. But all right, so it's a good question. Let's ask everybody this. What's your confidence level in Ryan Tannehill this season? 1 through 10. What is your confidence level in Ryan Tannehill this season? 1 through 10. 1 is no way he can play well enough for the Titans to be successful. And 10, you think Ryan Tannehill can win the Titans the Super Bowl. Anywhere in between. What's your confidence level in Ryan Tannehill this season? But real quick, let me tell you guys about one of our great sponsors, and that is the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever an injury happens to you, which happens in life, or someone you know and love, make sure you know where to go to, who to turn to, and who to trust with your recovery to get back to health. The Bone and Joint Institute, they do everything in that one facility to streamline the process to make it easy on you. Boneandjointtn.org is where to go.
A to Z Sports Bet MGM. Download the app today. They have you covered. They are the official title sponsor of this morning show. They are the king of sportsbooks. What you need to do is go to your app store after this show and download the Bet MGM app. I'm in Texas right now. I'm flying back this afternoon. Maybe the first app besides texting, but maybe the first app I get on to place some bets for this weekend. Plus, we got Alan Bell and Brian Edwards. Hopefully, they'll be feeding me some picks like they did at K-State. Won me $100 to get my weekend off right.
What's this week's Kansas State? We'll find out hopefully with A to Z Sports Picks at 2:00 Central Time.
Absolutely. So download that app today.
All right. So what is your confidence level in Ryan Tannehill? 1 through 10 is the scale. We've got a lot of comments fly in, so I'm trying to go up to the top. Jeff says 10. Roy says big fat 10. I see Steven and Jeff with back-to-back 7s. Ronnie and Jimmy with back-to-back 8s. Robert says Tannehill should be in that conversation also. I think he's like 20. He has like 23 comebacks under 2 minutes. I'm not sure about that overall, Robert, but I do know that Ryan Tannehill has been near the tops of the NFL in fourth quarter game-winning drives as the Titans starter since he took over in October 2019. Rond and Justin both going with 9s. Aaron says 8.5. Afio says 7. Colton 8.5. Jared says 9. And I'm only so high because they have Julio, not Corey Davis. Larry says 10. Zach Carpenter says 11. G-Man says 7. Daniel with 8. So far, Zach, I think the lowest I've seen is a 7. I'm trying to, speed scroll to see if anything catches my eye. Andrew with a 6 so far, now the new lowest, but a lot of 8s, a lot of 9s. There's definitely some 10s. Now, I did see another 6 from Nicholas, and I saw somebody commented, William on YouTube says regular season 9, playoffs 5. And, William, you're not wrong because Ryan Tannehill in the playoff games from 2 seasons ago, he helped them get that 14-0 lead over Baltimore early, like first play of the second quarter early. Titans up 14-0 with a bomb to Khalif Raymond. He helped them get up 7-0 in New England the week before to the Patriots, throwing that touchdown pass to Anthony Ferkser. He got them up last year 7-0, throwing a touchdown to A.J. Brown against the Ravens, but he couldn't finish it. And so that's what we're talking about is what's your confidence level in him having that clutch aspect in the playoffs when it matters, because he's been great in the regular season. In the second half of these playoff games, he hasn't done too much.
Yeah, and so you have to take the full work, right? I mean, that's the full slate of work. I think you bring up a valid point. He has been really good in the regular season. I think he's played at an elite level. I don't think he's an elite quarterback. I think that he has an opportunity over the next couple of years, especially this year, to maybe be in that conversation if he proves to a lot of people across the country that he can sustain and be consistent with that elite play. I think the chat is correct, though. I think that the confidence level is not 10 or a 9, but I think it's closer to a 7 or 8. So I'll split it right in the middle, and I'll say a 7.5 because I think Ryan Tannehill now has the extra weapon. Julio Jones is better than Corey Davis. Another year of Derrick Henry is always a good year at this point in his career. The same goes for A.J. Brown, who is salivating to go to Jacobs to get another chain to say 1K, 1K, 1K. So to add to his collection, I think I'm at a 7.5, with Brady and Rodgers and Wilson, that we talked about before. I mean, I think you have to be at a 9, right? A 9 or a 10 when you talk about what we're discussing. And that is, can you close a game out? Ryan Tannehill is smart. And I think we talk about attributes, and I know this is early on, right, even before the season. One of my favorite attributes about Ryan Tannehill that I have learned by getting to know Ryan Tannehill, with him being the Titans quarterback just over the 2 short years, his toughness. that guy will stand in and take a hit. Like Brady uses his mind to avoid hits because he gets the ball out quickly. And when he's falling down, he still completes passes, which is crazy. But Ryan Tannehill will get smacked in the mouth. He doesn't give a damn. He'll also use his athleticism, but his toughness, I think, really has increased my confidence rating in 17. My final answer is 7.5. I agree with the chat.
Yeah, I'm trying to read Dom's case. It says 4 games, guys. 4 games. Y'all are ready to say Tannehill isn't good in the playoffs after 4 games jumping the gun. I mean, 4 games, and they've all kind of been similar. In all 4 of these playoff games, Ryan Tannehill has helped the Titans get an early lead, and then in the 2 that they've lost, he hasn't done enough or anything in the second half to.
What's the discussion? What are we talking about?
And we're talking about what happened last night. Dak Prescott and the Cowboys could not control that game themselves. They put themselves up, but they left 84 seconds on the clock, which was too long.
Are you a closer? Can you close? I mean, that is life. Are you a closer? Can you get the job done? And obviously Tom Brady and those guys can. We got to find out in the playoff games. Last year in the wild card game, Ryan Tannehill was not a closer.
Well, and the Titans offense as a whole had issues. I mean, Arthur Smith had probably one of his worst play calling performances as a Titans play caller in that wild card game. Corey Davis had a mysterious hip injury. A.J. Brown kind of got quiet after initially jumping out of the gates hot. And then they had nobody else to throw to because Johnny was banged up and having a block. Derrick Henry was getting stuffed by the Ravens. You have to give them credit. So, it's tough because we're talking 1 through 10 and you say 7.5. And I'm trying to figure out, where do I land in this? Because the goal for the Titans is to not just to, go 12-5 in the regular season this year. It's not just to win the AFC South. Those are all goals I would think of this franchise, but it is to win in late January and to win in February, because I think the Titans have a roster that's talented enough to do that, but can the quarterback win something for them when it's on his shoulders, when it's 30 degrees outside? Because last year we saw him drive the field to get a game-winning kick against Denver. We saw him drive the field to win the game in week 2 against Jacksonville and get it done in week 3 in Minnesota. That's 3 weeks in a row to start the season where Tannehill was in a spot where they had to go win the game, and he got them to win those games. So we saw him do it against Pittsburgh at home last year, but Gostkowski missed the kick. So we've seen Tannehill do this several times in the regular season. So if this was regular season, I'm with the person who said earlier that it's a 9. But this, it's more than just that. And so that's why I kind of dropped down to a 7. 7's where I'm at, a flat 7 in Ryan Tannehill. He's done it so many times from September through December. But can he finish a game in January beyond the last regular season week? And my confidence dropped. I'm down, right? I think a 9 regular season, 5 playoffs is pretty right. So I'll split it right there with a 7 overall in Tannehill.
Look, and I know passing yards doesn't tell the whole story, and I'm not.
It's not about yards, right? It's about game.
I'm not box score reading. I'm not trying to do that. But 165 yards, 209 yards, 88 and 72 in 4 individual games doesn't scream that you're the guy. And I don't think that they traded for Ryan Tannehill to be the guy, but in this league, Austin, you know who wins Super Bowls? Quarterbacks. And look, we had a valid criticism early on in Chris Flint. It says, is Aaron Rodgers a closer? Well, yes, he is, because in 2010, he closed out a Super Bowl to win the big game. The last 2 years, he hasn't been that great of a closer. Now, you can make excuses or reasons or whatever that is, but he went on the road and got blown out by San Francisco in San Fran and then lost at home to the Bucs in Green Bay. But he has closed before. Ryan Tannehill has never closed in the playoffs. I don't see a game in the playoffs in his 4, and that's all we can go by, that I'm seeing Ryan Tannehill 278 yards, 3 touchdowns, or 272 yards, 2 touchdowns. That tells me Ryan Tannehill put the team on his back when they needed to. And this is a passing league, guys, right? Like, you're going to have to close out. They're going to put 8 in the box late in the game when you try to run the clock out for Derrick Henry. Now, sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't because Derrick Henry's a beast. But you got to be able to move the sticks. Dak Prescott was unable to move the sticks last night when he really, truly needed to. I think we're right. I think 7 and 7.5 is the correct answer. I don't think you could go any higher than that. I think I probably got influenced by his toughness and this year's team. I have high expectations for this year's team. I've told you that. I expect them to go to the AFC Championship game.
But we both picked them to go there, but we also both picked them to lose that game. So
unless they host it. If it's in Nashville and the AFC Championship game is live at Nissan Stadium, I think they win that football game.
All right, so that means the Titans really need to have that second seed, I think, because I don't think the first seed is touchable this year.
Unless the Chiefs get off to a slow start. I mentioned it yesterday. They play 6 out of their first 9 opponents are all playoff teams from a year ago, including the Titans. So, hey, that's straight facts, homie. You come to A to Z Sports to get straight facts. That's straight facts. It would not be out of this world if they didn't start out stellar because of the beginning of their schedule.
Fair. All right, let's go ahead and do this because I think, we've talked a lot about Ryan Tannehill today. We talked a lot of Titans. I do have 2 non-Titans storylines for Sunday, but that Titans fans need to pay attention to. So it's not in the Titans-Cardinals game, but it is storylines that the Titans fans need to pay attention to and how it affects them moving forward. But first, Zach, tell everybody about Wilson County Hyundai.
Yes, Wilson County Hyundai is where to get your next ride. It is simple. Quick trip down I-40, exit 236. Austin and I, we go there. We go to the dealership. We talk to Payne Bone. I drive a Hyundai. It just makes sense. I'm not going to lie to you, okay? And if you know me personally or on this show, I don't lie. I don't have time to make up more lies after I lie. So I don't lie. And I'm not lying to you when you can get the best car possible for you or your family at this car dealership. WilsonCountyHyundai.com, whether it's they got a 4-door sedan that has your name on it. It's called the Sonata. I have one. It's dominant. If you got a family, ditch the Zero, a.k.a. the minivan, and get with a Hero, which is the 2021 Hyundai Palisade. Just go look at it. You don't have to buy it. Just go test drive it. Wilson County Hyundai has you covered at a great price. WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Download the BetMGM app today. Use this code, guys, ATOZ100. ATOZ100. And all you got to do, once you deposit money after you use that code ATOZ100, make your first deposit and then place a $1 moneyline wager on any college football game. A $1 moneyline wager on any college football game, you're going to get $100 if either team in said game scores a touchdown. Easy as that. I mean, just trying to give you $100 to jumpstart your bankroll right there at BetMGM. They're the king of sportsbooks. Download that app today. Use code ATOZ100 for a $1 moneyline wager to win you $100 if either team in college football scores a touchdown. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. You must be 21 years old or must be present in Tennessee. And for gambling problem support, call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. Talking NFL storylines here on this Friday show. We still have SEC picks coming up and our mortgage picks coming up presented by BetMGM. But I think for the Titans, obviously Titans fans are amped up and jacked up to watch Titans-Cardinals noon Central kickoff.
And it's a pick 'em, right? Titans are at home, favored by 3.
Yeah, so technically a pick 'em, but the Titans are a 3-point favorite, yes. Over-under set at 52 as of right now. We'll be live, by the way, at the Mainstay at 11:30 for pregame, halftime, postgame show all day long there at the Mainstay. But I do think there are really good matchups throughout the AFC and the NFL on Sunday. And the Titans fans, there's 2 games in particular that I'm really interested in seeing how they play out. The first one involves your week 2 and your week 3 opponent, where your division rival has several question marks with health, with quarterback play, and that's the Seahawks and Colts, also a noon kickoff in Indianapolis. The Seahawks come to Indy. Seattle's favored by 3 as of right now, but I mean, you have an opportunity to see how these two teams stack up against each other because you play them next. And does Carson Wentz look rusty? Does he look healthy? Is he effective? Does he get rid of the ball quick? Is he taking sacks against an opponent with the Seahawks who are not that great when it comes to defense, but you want to see how the Colts defense, it's the best thing the Colts have is their defense. How do they match up with the Seahawks offense? Because the Seahawks have horses on the outside, just like the Titans have horses on the outside. So where are the advantages to take it to go there? So I think Seahawks Colts is something that I don't know if you're a multi-TV person or if you are a red zone person or what, but you need to keep your eye on Seahawks Colts side by side with Titans Cardinals on Sunday.
I'm a Sunday ticket person. I got 5 games going at a time.
I've sat next to you for every NFL game over the last 4 years, and I see all the NFL straight into your veins, trying to process everything at once. But that's one that we need on the bigger screen.
It's like I'm a crack addict at a crack den. Give me all the football. I want all the football right into my face on my television screen at the mainstay, and or this year on our away games. We've got Mill Creek Tack Room that's going to be lit right on my screen or on my phone. I got a phone. Hell, if I had another tablet, I would put that on there too.
Yes.
So I agree with this pick because I'm also intrigued with this game.
Yeah, and so Eric says you can't compare the Colts wide receivers to the Titans wide receivers. And I did not do that, Eric. I said I think it's a good thing to see how the Colts can defend the passing game of the Seahawks because the Seahawks passing game is very potent and high powered with a lot of guys out there who can run. And the Titans have I think the Titans have a better wide receiver group, but it's a good test to see how the Colts can defend.
I think the Colts are going to come out there and use Jonathan Taylor. I think that is going to be their recipe to the Cowboys. You thought that they were going to ease Dak into it. No, he did the ball 50 plus times.
So which the Colts using Jonathan Taylor does what for the Titans? It shows the Titans if Seattle can stop the run because the Titans have better offensive weapons than the Seahawks. And the Titans had better offensive weapons than the Colts. So now we get to see both defenses and how they handle the other, where the Titans are better and superior than both those offensive groups that we can watch. So that's why Seahawks Colts is so important to kind of self-scout for week 2 and week 3.
And the subtle caveat, how is Carson Wentz moving? The guy just had surgery on his foot. He came back early. Everything seems – but when you're in full action – and people are around your feet, how are you going to perform? I thought Dak did very well. There was one time where I was watching the game last night where Dak, I think 2 years ago, he tries to get the edge and tries to run, but instead he pulled back up. But after further review, I think it was just because Shaq Barrett was chasing him, and he knew he wasn't going to be able to outrun Shaq Barrett.
Yeah.
So I corrected myself after I was like, I think no, that was just a smart play by Dak. What will Carson Wentz do with that foot? And can he play smart instead of what we kind of know Carson Wentz to play, which is reckless?
For sure. So that's the first storyline to watch, non-Titans, is Seahawks Colts. The second one, because I wanted to cut it down to 2. I didn't want to have 3 or 4 because I could have gone with a bunch of other games. The Dolphins-Patriots is intriguing because the Titans play them both later in the season, but they're going to be different teams by the time the Titans face the Dolphins and the Patriots. And I do think the Bills and Steelers are interesting as well. But man, if you're talking about the Titans trying to host an AFC championship game, Zach, then there's one game to pay attention to, and that's Browns Chiefs. Because I think a lot of people are so high on the Browns roster this year, what they were able to accomplish with Kevin Stefanski's first year through COVID and how he improved Baker's play. The defense has a lot of studs on it as well against Patrick Mahomes. And probably, I want to say, are the Chiefs the Super Bowl favorites or the Bucs Super Bowl favorites? So they're pretty even. But The best team in the AFC is no doubt the Kansas City Chiefs. So you get two heavyweights squaring off in week 1 in Kansas City. The Chiefs are a 5.5-point favorite. I am very, very interested to see what happens in these two games, because those are potential divisional and AFC title game matchups for the Titans in January.
Yeah, and look, the Titans, I think, I would say 80% to 85% of the NFL is good, right? I mean, you have the low,
then there's the Texans and the Jets and the Jags.
Right? There are those teams, and I'll get to some of those teams here in a second. I think the Titans got a good pick. Like, I know the Jags are playing the Texans. That's probably the best case scenario for an opening week game. But they got the worst team in a division, right? I mean, the Arizona Cardinals probably be at the NFC West is the best division.
Yeah.
But they're still the worst. Like, they didn't get the Rams or the Seahawks, right? Now they're going to have to play those soon after. But I think that the Titans got a good pick, and the Browns and the Chiefs, they're going to do battle, and I think we're going to learn a lot about the Cleveland Browns just in week 1, because I think that has a potential to be like a 14-point rout by the Chiefs. I think that has a pretty likely potential. I may bet on that. It's 5.5. Yeah. I would put my money. I know it's in Cleveland, but I would put my money on the Chiefs. I just think
it's in Kansas City.
Oh, then that justifies it even more.
I
may just change my mortgage pick.
Well,
I don't know.
Do you remember what happened to the Browns week 1 on the road last year? Heavyweight matchup.
I know 2 years ago they were run out of their own stadium by the Titans.
I know, but last year they were run out of Baltimore 38-6.
That's right.
So Kevin Stefanski's first game was ugly, getting run out by Baltimore 38-6. I think the Browns they're a lot better than that 38-6 loss. But man, do the Browns, who have not won a week 1 game, I want to say since like 2005, they've tied in week 1 before, but they have not won a week 1 game in 16 plus years, I think is the number. They have an opportunity to go head to toe with the best team in the conference and maybe steal one and really come out of the gates with a statement. Will they do it? I doubt it. I would probably pick the Chiefs to win that game. I don't think I'd go 5.5, but maybe 2.5 is probably an alternate spread I might put in a parlay or something, or at least the money line. But that's the second game behind Seahawks Colts that I'm really intrigued to pay attention to this week.
All right, so let's go to Power of the People. What's one thing in the NFL's week 1 you're most excited to watch? I have an all-encompassing 2-game answer, and it is the weirdest answer. I think you're going to be like, really? But this has always been my week 1 kind of traditional eye. And it is the most – I'm really excited about this. I'm giddy. This is my favorite weekend. This is my favorite weekend. Since we can't do Ain't That Good News Football is back, this is my favorite weekend. Of the weekends. Of all the weekends. This is my favorite weekend. It always has been and always will be, because the NFL starts. I get a Thursday nighter. I get all day Saturday for college football to drink a couple of cold Steve Weisers, wake up early, do a little workout, and go watch NFL football all day. Oh, wait, and then come home, sit my ass on the couch, eat some pasta or some feel-good food, and watch Sunday Night Football.
You got Mandu on Sunday?
I've got to figure that out. I've got to figure out my game plan because I've been traveling and yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this. I tell you this. Sunday morning, I have the 9:30 Mandu slot, so I will say that. So 9:30 Mandu our pregame show and coverage at the Mainstay.
I wouldn't do 9:30. I would go a little bit earlier, but I may do that. Now I'm intrigued.
I'm just saying. I've got the 9:30 Mandu slot. Look, Mandu is I love Mandu because of how the results are great.
15 minutes.
And it's 15 minutes, right? Like I can literally go get in a great workout, 15 minutes of full body electronic muscle stimulation before having to work all day because it makes me feel better. Mandu not only builds functional strength, but it also releases those endorphins that can help me power through a long NFL workday like we're going to have on Sunday. So mandu.com, your first workout's free. Again, a 15-minute workout simulates 5 or more hours in the weight room. Your first workout's free at mandu.com. And after that first free workout, when you sign up and you tell them A to Z Sports sent you, they'll give you $100 off your first month at mandu.com. Go check it out. It's real. Mandu.com.
A to Z Sports, download the BetMGM app. They are the official title sponsor of this morning show. Use that promo code. They are the king of sports books. And also for today, $1 moneyline wager wins you $100 if either a college football team scores a touchdown. So that's ATOZ100, no spaces, ATOZ100. And they will hook you up there. Download the app today.
All right, so the question is, what one thing in the NFL's week 1 are you most excited to watch? I'm just going to run through some comments, and I'll let Zach give his. Kyle says Julio's first game as a Titan. I know that's going to be the most highly anticipated season opener for the Titans that I can remember. I mean, it's like, obviously, week 1 of 99 was big, the first ever game in Philadelphia as the Titans, and then the week 1 the next year after going to the Super Bowl was big. This one's huge. Ed says the new look Rams on Sunday Night Football. Bobby says his fantasy football players. You can just keep that to yourself, though. Chris says, I'm excited to see Najee Harris just because I think he's going to be a stud. Alex with a good answer. NFL Red Zone. I don't get to watch NFL Red Zone all that much because I'm working. But whenever the Titans have a Sunday night late kick or a Thursday night, Monday night game, that opening kickoff of the noon slate of Scott Hansen, 8 games kicking off right now, Octobox with the NFL Red Zone is a great feeling. Let's see. Jared says he wants to see how Arthur Smith does in Atlanta. He doesn't know who they play, but curious to see how they play with him as head coach. I don't remember who the Falcons drew in week 1 either, but I can look that up real quick.
They play the Eagles.
The Eagles, which is a winnable game for Arthur Smith out of the gates there. Omar says the Titans defense. Steven says the battle of the Alabama quarterbacks, which is very interesting. Mac Jones versus Tua in week 1.
So speaking of, I'll get to that here in a second. I had a weird football's on the brain around these parts because I went to sleep about 1:30 after last night's game, and I dreamt that Jalen Hurts scored 7 touchdowns.
Wow.
In week 1. That's weird. Very weird. I don't know why. We'll see what he does. He'll probably
not score 7.
No, I don't think he'll score 7.
If he scores 3, then that's a great thing for the Eagles.
That last comment brings me to what I'm most excited about. I get the hype. Plus, my team won last night. I'm sleeping easy, resting easy. Outside of Julio Jones and the Titans, because I'm with you guys. I'm ready to see that. I got popcorn ready to pop. Here's my weird thing in week 1. I like seeing players, new faces in new places. That's what I like to see. So there's 2 games, very weird, that I'm looking forward to watching on my screen, not NFL Red Zone. I'm actually anti-NFL Red Zone guy. But I'm looking forward to Jets, Panthers, Dolphins, Patriots. Mac Jones, Tua Tagovailoa. You've got Zach Wilson, who I don't feel like anybody's seen play. I mean, BYU sporadically, maybe throughout the years on games randomly. And then you've got Sam Darnold with Matt Rule coming into a second season that Christian McCaffrey's healthy, and Sam Darnold has been at the Jets in a very bad situation in a poor organization for a long time.
And they play each other.
Jets and Panthers, very intrigued.
Yeah.
Mac Jones, I want to see. I think Mac Jones won the job. I don't think he was given the job. I think there was nuance to it. I think COVID Cam, I don't think that helped his cause. The NFL is forcing your ass to get a vaccine whether you like it or not. And if you don't want to play their game and your name is not Lamar Jackson or a superstar in his prime, your ass is going to get cut or you're not going to be able to play. You're sure as hell not going to be the face of the team and the quarterback. They're just not going to do that. There's too much money and too many jobs riding on that position, and Cam is a product of that. And you got Fancy Friday or whatever the F he calls it that he's going to come out today and explain what really happened. Cam Newton does a Instagram series, if you don't know what that means.
No, I didn't.
So, and he's going to tell all. So I'd be curious that. But Mac Jones, I think the Patriots wanted Mac Jones to play the way that he did in the preseason and in training camp. He did. He got the job. Those are two matchups. And is Tua, does he suck or is he good? I don't think he's great. Is he above average? Is he average or is he bad? Is he a game manager? Is he a playmaker?
I don't think he sucks. He's definitely not great. He's just in the middle. But what is that? What is that worth?
I don't know.
Right. I don't know either.
Like, so I want to know. And I Zach Wilson, I think that I hate to say this. I think Zach Wilson, I put a $10 bet because it was free on him to win Rookie of the Year. I liked the odds. It was free. And I think that could make sense to me.
Yeah, by the way, breaking news from the chat. It's Cam Newton already did his fancy Friday, whatever he called it. BMO giving us the rundown. Cam video already out. He said he was released because he's a distraction and will be a distraction anywhere he goes because he's just himself. I mean, yeah, I probably agree with that. That makes sense to me because Cam Newton is a distraction, especially with a backup. Nobody wants the loud, I'm not saying like loud mouth, but just loud attention seeking and attention grabbing distraction of a backup quarterback. Nobody wants that. That's why Tim Tebow was exiled from the league as a quarterback because nobody wanted the Tim Tebow distraction for a player who doesn't impact the team most of the time. Now, Cam Newton is the first call somebody's going to make when their starter gets hurt, but when he is a starter, you can have the guy that's the distraction and be okay as long as he's a starter. But as a backup, you can't do that. Like, you cannot be a distraction for your football team. And it is Cam just because he's himself, which is, that's him, right? But he has to understand. Was he
not himself when he was drafted number 1 overall?
Right. No, but that's what I'm saying. As a starter, Mac Jones won the job. Then Cam Newton was no longer needed in New England as a backup because every time that quarterback makes a mistake, it's Cam's on the sideline, bring Cam in, he can do it, or whatever else. That's just the situation. Louis, you can boo that take all day long if you want to, but I'm not wrong. And I'm not saying I agree with it or disagree with it. I'm just stating what the reality is.
No, I agree with you. I actually would double down on that. And I would say the NFL is notorious for ridding itself of distractions. You mentioned Cam Newton. We mentioned Tim Tebow. Let's face it. Colin Kaepernick was a distraction to the NFL. The league rid him of him. And because he wasn't a starter at the time, right? His Super Bowl days were behind him. He went to the Super Bowl in 2012 and lost to Joe Flacco because Michael Crabtree didn't catch that fade. After that, and we all know the surrounding parts around it, but the NFL is notorious for ridding its business of distractions.
If you're a starter,
right or wrong, it's right.
If you're a starter, you can be allowed to be a distraction to an extent. If you're a backup, no distractions are allowed. Like, you're a problem.
I'll give you another example. Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler was a distraction in Denver. They shipped his ass away, right? They shipped him to Chicago. He became eventually a distraction there. They shipped him to Miami, right? Like, you have a window. The NFL stands for not for long. Don't be a distraction if you want to sustain your job over a long period of time. If you want to be the world beater and be Cam with the crazy hats and look, the COVID thing, I have my own opinions on that, and I don't necessarily like the way that it's handled, but you have to also understand you work for somebody. Your rights as a person deteriorate when you work for somebody. That's why I quit my job. The reason why I don't work for anybody anymore is because I don't do well with people telling me what to do. Cam, he's got enough money. He can go do something else, but he ain't going to play in the NFL, especially under Bill Belichick or any other coach, and he's going to have to do what they say. He's going to have to get a shot.
Yeah. Well, and Danny says, what about Aaron Rodgers this whole offseason? If you play well enough, distractions don't matter. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is a top quarterback in the league. Cam Newton is not anymore. He was in 2015, but hello, it's 2021. Cam Newton is expendable, and that's the unfortunate reality for Cam Newton to know about himself.
Okay. This year, Austin, this is a quick random topic that popped in my head, and I'm curious to see what your answer is. Who will have the best season this year? Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, or Trevor Lawrence? Those are the 4 first-round picks, right?
Trey Lance.
And Trey Lance, I'll throw Trey Lance in there. Look, Garoppolo may get hurt early, and he may be like the damn thing on fire. So 5, fair. All 5 first-rounders. Who will have the best, not the best career, the best season this year? Mac Jones is playing statistically on the best team.
I think it's Mac Jones because he will have the least amount of hard times, right? Like, although Justin Fields isn't starting yet, I could see Justin Fields after the first couple. Like I already said this a couple weeks ago. My theory on why Justin Fields is not playing week 1 for the Bears is because they play Aaron Donald and the Rams defense. That just would be a bad, that is not setting up your first round pick quarterback for success to roll him out there for week 1, Sunday Night Football under the lights. Here's Aaron Donald. Go, welcome to the NFL. That's just dumb.
Oh, wait, you want to throw the ball? There's Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, sacrifice Andy Dalton QB1 for that. That's perfect, right?
And then they play the Bengals week 2.
Yeah, so there you go.
And then the Lions a couple weeks later.
So that's when Justin Fields can get on there. I think Justin Fields has the highest ceiling. Man,
what's your
tough.
answer this year?
This year, I think it's Mac Jones. I just think he is set up to have the most success because remember all the opt-outs on the Patriots defense last year? It's crazy. And Josh McDaniels, I trust the system of the Patriots for him to at least have a pretty solid year. And the Jets are awful. The Jags are awful. So Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence are just going to get beat to a pulp behind 0 offensive line and have a bad defense. So they're going to be throwing the ball 45 times a game, and Trey Lance is an unknown, which is why I go with Mac Jones to have the best year overall this year.
I think that's the correct answer, Austin. I want to pick Justin Fields really bad, but Matt Nagy's loyalty to Andy Dalton or Andy Dalton's play prevents me from saying Justin Fields. Because I know Mac Jones is going to play week 1.
Cam says Trey Lance has the highest ceiling for sure. I don't know who has the highest ceiling.
I think I agree with that. Cam, you are getting the love of the show.
Like why? I mean, I'm genuinely asking why does Trey Lance have the highest ceiling? Because I think Mac Jones I think Trevor Lawrence, I think Zach Wilson,
not high.
That's what I'm saying. I think all of them have very high ceilings. Zach Wilson, I think is very unknown because of his stature or lack of his stature and how long he can hang. But I think all of these quarterbacks we're talking about have high ceilings. I don't know why Trey Lance has a higher one than Justin Fields because Trey Lance only played, 16 games in college football? So you're saying just because he has more growth, is that it?
I want to give another love of the show, but the chat is answering the question. Your question for me.
Okay.
Kevin, great. We'll start there. He has a stable organization. He has an offensive-minded head coach that's not going to leave him in a couple of years or get fired, right?
Yeah, very
important. So those are 2 massive things. I think he's got a great team around him. He's got one of the best defenders. You talk about Aaron Donald, Nick Bosa. Yeah, I'm scared of that man. That man is a very good football player on the other side of the ball, and their defense, I think, is good. I also think that their offense is run-first mentality, and I think that helps a quarterback, especially a mobile quarterback like Trey Lance. He's shown some flashes. I don't want to judge him based on a preseason or training camp going into this season. I do believe he is the most talented and skilled, even more than Trevor Lawrence, because I think Trevor Lawrence, there's a possibility he could get ruined by a bad organization named the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't think that there's a possibility that Trey Lance gets ruined by an organization named the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, no doubt. Danny says, but I bet Trey Lance will be the last to start this year. Well, let's go back to the 2017 quarterback draft. You had Mitch Trubisky started pretty early. Deshaun Watson started pretty early. And the last guy to start from that first round as a quarterback was Patrick Mahomes, because it's all about the situation. I think Jimmy Garoppolo, Alex Smith, Spider-Man meme to an extent. And, that's kind of the backups that have the ability to sit, wait. The coach can be patient, set them up for the best situation to have a successful season. I'm not saying Trey Lance is going to be Patrick Mahomes, but the situation seems similar.
Speaking of that, this is Garoppolo's last year, right? I think in his contract. I don't think that he'll be.
I think he's got more than that. I'll look it up though.
Maybe so. You know what I could see? I could see Garoppolo. You talked about, and you actually kind of spurred this in my head. Is you talked about Alex Smith. I could see Garoppolo going to the Washington football team or whatever the hell they're going to call themselves next year, the Red Wolves.
He's got this year and the following year.
So I don't know the cut or the dead cap or any of that, but the Washington football team, they're in a bad spot because they're good enough to be 8-8, 9-7. Well, I guess 8-9, 9-8. I hate that, but they're good enough, but they're not good enough to really get the quarterback they need to go after Super Bowls. So they may do a Band-Aid job with Garoppolo, because Garoppolo, I think, is better than Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think has a higher ceiling than Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I've got another team too. So Garoppolo has this year, his cap hit's 27. His dead cap after this season is only 1.4. So they could cut him after this season, or they could try to trade him. But, with only 1 year left and 1.4 million, you might as well cut him, right? But another team that I think he could land on, same division, Giants. If you look at what the Giants are trying to do, Daniel Jones is in that, third year where you have to, it's boom or bust for Daniel Jones. And so if he flops, then maybe Garoppolo can come in and help the Giants out.
Danny hadn't spent a dime yet. Like Danny Dimes, that's fun for New Yorkers to say, but he hadn't done a damn thing. This is his year. He's got his running back, but the Giants got a long way to go.
Yeah, but boom or bust for Daniel Jones, because in May they have to pick up his fifth-year option or not. And so do they want to roll with Daniel Jones or maybe bringing in Jimmy Garoppolo and move on, whatever it might be.
Last thing on that, we're in a football era that is, what have you done for me lately? And they're okay to move on with another quarterback. We saw, Josh Rosen, bye. You're not the guy. Let's get Kyler Murray. They'll move on from you real quick. They don't have a problem with that.
Gotcha. Good deal. All right, A to Z Sports. Zach, you ready for our college football picks for the week?
I am.
SEC picks week 2 coming up. We've got 5 games in the SEC we're picking this week. And also our mortgage picks, where hopefully we each are more successful with our mortgage picks this week compared to last week. But Zach, tell everybody about Calvin and Subtle.
Yeah, Calvin and Subtle is where you need to go to get your new hardwood floor. 615-448-6414 or online at calvinandsubtle.com. They got you covered. Ripped up that old carpet. Go talk to your wife today going into the weekend. You want to drink cold beer all weekend? Tell her, hey, we're getting our new hardwood floors. That's a good way to spend the weekend enjoying some football. The best weekend of any weekend of all weekends of all year. Yeah. Think about it. Take a second. And then call 615-448-6414 or online at calvinandsubtle.com. We feature their hardwood floors all the time on A to Z Sports. And if you're looking to renovate your home, there is one place to go, and the only place to go, and that's Calvin and Subtle.
BetMGM, download the app today for the BetMGM app. When you do, use our code ATOZ100. That's ATOZ100 today, and you get a $1 moneyline wager on any college football game will win you $100 if either team in that game scores a touchdown. So jump on that. Again, that's code ATOZ100 when you download the app, make your first deposit, and then a $1 moneyline wager on any college football game wins you $100 when a touchdown is scored. Easy $100 for you to help build that BetMGM bankroll for the football season. Code ATOZ100 after that download and that first deposit at the BetMGM app. Zach, it is time for our SEC picks. We've also got Alan Bell and Brian Edwards coming up today at 2 o'clock Central Time. I've already seen the rundown. They've got a parlay for the weekend. They've got college football and NFL locks from Alan and Brian. They had good weekends last weekend for college football. NFL, big slate coming up for A to Z Sports Picks at 2 o'clock Central Time today on the same channels you're watching right now. All right, SEC picks week 2. Last week, Zach, I went 3-3. You went 4-2.
Man, that Ole Miss, that would have been huge to go 6-0.
Yeah, we each missed our mortgage pick, which if you're new to the show, our mortgage pick is worth 2 points. So we both lost it. So that counts as 2 points as a loss. So the only difference is I picked LSU -2. You picked UCLA. UCLA won. So that's the difference in my 3-3 and your 4-2 because we both whiffed on the mortgage. All right. First game, local in Knoxville. Pitt -3 at Tennessee. Zach, I'm going to go ahead and jump out and do this myself. This was the easiest decision I've made. It's Pitt plus, -3. That's the pick. Tennessee's got some potential COVID situations with its starting running back, Tyon Evans, who led them in rushing last week, had a great game against Bowling Green. I don't trust Joe Milton in the offense to be consistent against an actual college football team, and the defense was very untested last week against Bowling Green. I don't know what they can do against a Pitt team that's returning like a 6-year senior quarterback and a lot of starters from last year. So Pitt -3 is the pick for me.
I'm going the other direction.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm going Tennessee. I think Tennessee has an opportunity to win this game too.
The money line, I think, is like +125. It's gone down. Like it was at like +150, and it's working its way towards even money.
And I've been bent over by Tennessee many times doing this. Yeah. But I'm going Tennessee. I'll take the points.
Okay.
I think that they can win.
Why? Like what do you think separates Tennessee from Pitt? How do they win this game?
I think that they got their sea legs under them last week. I think that they can correct. They needed something on paper, on film with a new coach. There's two ways, and I think any football knowledgeable person would tell you this. When you have a new coach, there is two sides of coaching, or there's probably three sides of coaching, especially with a new coach. Going into the season in preparation, in-game coaching, and then out of that game, what did you learn, right? What is your retention rate? Sure. How did the coaches teach that? I've always been, and I don't know why, I was not high on Jeremy Pruitt even when they hired him. I thought that was just a last girl at the dance to go home with. Like that, it didn't work. They cheated. I liked Heupel. I thought that this time around they at least had a direction. Whether they fail or it works, they went after a program that had success, that being Central Florida. It didn't work for Nebraska in Scott Frost, but I like Danny White. I thought that he had. I liked it.
Yeah,
Heupel, I think, can build on this. I'm taking Tennessee. I may be kicking myself, but I'm okay going into the weekend with that.
So Zach is Tennessee +3. I am Pitt -3. I just think 3 is too little. I think Pitt wins the game. And if it was like, I think Tennessee +5 is something I would probably have to consider, but 3 is too.
Did the line changed? Because I saw it was 3.5 at one point.
I looked at all these lines I've got from BetMGM this morning, right? Yeah. I sent you the email like 5:30.
No, I know. I know.
All right, so we're split on that one. Okay, 2 teams that probably had the most embarrassing weeks last week. Vandy and Colorado State each lost to an FCS opponent. Now Vandy goes to Colorado State for a 9 p.m. Central kickoff. The Rams of Colorado State are a 6.5-point favorite. Zach, what are you doing here?
I don't know. This is the
shot in the dark.
Yeah.
6.5.
Colorado State.
That's what I was going to go. It's more than I think. I think Colorado State wins by a touchdown against Vandy, who scored a measly 3 points against ETSU. I just, oh God, I mean, the Vandy situation is absolute hot garbage. Okay, quickly.
Well, they're starting literally below sea level. Like they haven't even. You talk about brick by brick, building a foundation, trying to do all that jazz. They haven't even begun that process.
They haven't even dug up the dirt to start building the foundation.
Well, the problem is they don't have enough bricks or supplies to build a house. And they're going to have to be piecing that together for a long time. I don't know. I have no idea. The problem is I understood the strategy. They went back to Clark Lee's look of his Vandy days, you know, the retro black and gold pants, gold helmet. They look like that version of Vandy.
I'll say this, Zach, and I don't know if you agree with me. Will Healy doesn't lose that game to ETSU. That's how I feel about it.
He
just beat Duke.
I get it. Beat Duke. But different players, bro.
I'm
just
saying.
Have a hard on for Healy. I like Healy.
I definitely have a hard on for Will Healy,
but
and I'm not shying away from it.
We'll see where he goes. I think that's a little much.
Will Healy does not lose that game to ETSU because he has his team more ready to play that game, where Clark Lee literally admitted yesterday that his team was overlooking and expecting ETSU to roll over. So Will Healy wins that game. That's all I got to say about that. Okay.
I give you a MacBook or Macintosh from 2003. See if you can do this show as officially. You can't. And that's what Healy would be doing.
Okay. UAB at Georgia. Georgia beat Clemson last week at 10-3. Georgia is a 24.5 point favorite. So UAB at Georgia. Georgia minus 24.5. Zach, I'll start this one. Georgia wins this game, but I think 24.5 is too much. I know Clemson's defense is pretty good, but Georgia's offense struggled. I think UAB is being overlooked here. I think UAB covers a 24.5. Georgia will try to take some frustration, but UAB is a pretty good team, so I'm taking the Blazers plus 24.5.
Man, I half of me feels like Georgia is just going to dog stomp them, right? Because it's in Athens, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how good Clemson's defense was, right? That decides.
We think it's good. Yeah, you're right. We think it's pretty good, but you're right. We don't know.
I'll take, I think I'm with you. I can't do it. I think UAB is, I kind of agree with a little bit of the chat. They're a good team. They're not a great team, but they're good enough to cover. I'll go UAB.
As soon as I saw 24.5, I was like, oh man, that's surprising. Because UAB won their conference last year, 6-3. They're building something nice down there. All right, Texas at Arkansas. The Longhorns -7 on the road to Arkansas. Texas won. They beat Louisiana, who was ranked last week. Arkansas stumbled a little bit out of the gates last week, but Texas -7 at Arkansas.
So I watched Texas, right?
You did.
You
watched them last week, or you watched them in general?
I watched them in general, and I watched them last week.
All right.
Because I had a bet on Texas, and I learned a little bit. I like this Hudson Card character. Texas boy, right?
Texas name. Like, Texas quarterbacks always have the most Texas names.
Hudson Colt. I mean, right? It's just that's what it is. Who was the guy that Boucher or
Michelle?
Bouchel. What was his first name?
I don't know. He wasn't
He's
around
in the NFL now. He's
a
backup.
Shane Bouchel?
Shane Bruchel. I think that's right. He didn't work out, but Hudson Card, man, I'm going to get screwed by WUTs this weekend, or I could thrive. I'm going to take, I hate the line being 7, but I'm going to take Texas.
Yeah, BetMGM has it at 7, and I like it at 7. Anything bigger than that, I probably would pick Arkansas to cover. Arkansas was not super impressive last week, and so I'm taking Texas as well. Last SEC game that we have before we get to our mortgage picks, Zach, this is a big game, like sneaky big game week 2 in the SEC for kind of how the beyond Georgia, Florida will play out in the East. Mizzou at Kentucky. Kentucky -5. I watched a little bit of that Missouri game last week against Central Michigan. Missouri was thankful that they got away with a win there.
True.
And I did not expect Eli Drinkwitz's team to be playing that poorly and that sloppy. And Kentucky, they looked like they can throw the football for the first time since Andre Woodson was the quarterback in 2009. So I think Kentucky wins this game. I'm going Cats -5. I already had this circled before the show. Cats -5 over the other Cats, the Tigers.
I'll take Missouri. I think Missouri's going to bounce back. Like last year, don't tell me that Arkansas and Missouri were complete and utter phonies, right? Because they played okay football. They saw some shed of light. I think that this game is close. I'm not picking Missouri to win, but I could see it being a 3-point game.
+5.
Yeah.
I got you. All right. So basically, we are the same on – we both picked Colorado State -6.5, UAB +24.5, and Texas -7. I had Pitt -3. You've got Tennessee +3. I've got Kentucky -5. You've got Mizzou +5. Zach's picking up 3 dogs to cover this week. So I'll let you lead off with your mortgage pick of the week presented by BetMGM. What are you doubling down on today?
So I am, and this is a team where I won money on last week. This is going to be a good game. This is a marquee game. This is a game that I'll watch. The Iowa Hawkeyes and the Iowa State Cyclones. I ain't talking about Seneca Wallace, my friend. I think this is going to be, and I have seen this a couple of places, but I kind of, when I went over the schedule earlier this week, I usually look at the college football slate early and see, get me revved up.
Yeah. I
think this is going to be a drag them out type game. Okay. I think I'm going to go under on Iowa State. I saw it and I saw it at 46.5.
Ooh, 46.5.
Yes.
Okay. 46 under 46.5. That's the pick.
Yes. Number 10 versus number 9. I think this is going to be a grounded pound type game. And in college football, if you run the football, that clock goes quick.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going back to the well with my mortgage pick, except I'm learning from that well last week. Last week, I got sick from drinking from the well. This week, I'm just going to take the water out and throw it away. I am going back to Wisconsin because I know that Graham Mertz is a terrible quarterback for Wisconsin, and I'm taking Wisconsin, Eastern Michigan under 52 because that was a 16-10 game with Wisconsin, Penn State last week, and it was so disgusting. Wisconsin cannot throw the ball to save their lives. Graham Mertz sucks. He is terrible. He had like so many stupid mistakes, and Eastern Michigan's not very good. And I went back and looked. Eastern Michigan blew out their opponent last week, who's basically the school of the blind, but they had 4 touchdown runs. The longest scoring play they had, 4 yards. They scored from 1 yard, from 2 yards, and twice from 4 yards. So I don't think Eastern Michigan's going to put up any points because Wisconsin's got a good defense. So Wisconsin, Eastern Michigan, under 52, my mortgage pick of the week.
So if this is an eye test based on what you saw.
Yeah, Graham Mertz, the worst quarterback play I saw all last weekend.
That was funny because I had my money was on Penn State, and I felt good about that because I actually played it up to like 7.5. I think it was 5.5.
Yes,
and so I won again. I doubled my money last week.
Wisconsin should have won that game easily. They missed the field goal in the red zone. Graham Mertz fumbled twice inside the 10-yard line. They had first and goal at the 1 or 2 yard line 3 times, got 0 points. Like that was so awful of quarterback play. He had multiple intentional groundings. He threw 2 interceptions to kill the game. He's just really bad. And so that's where I'm going to go with
I
Wisconsin.
actually think that
Eastern
this is a
Michigan.
game where you're going to find more points, but
Then 52. But Wisconsin's defense is legitimate. Their defense is good. They only gave up 16. So Wisconsin might score 30 or 35, but I don't think Eastern Michigan's making up the difference to get to 52. So I'm going under 52 with that game.
We'll find out.
Omar, Corey Davis went to Western Michigan, not Eastern, but it's kind of close.
You know who went to Eastern Michigan?
No. From the Titans?
Yeah.
Defensive lineman?
Oh, wait. I think I got this mixed up.
Jason Jones?
You know who it is? Who I was thinking of?
Who?
Eastern Washington.
Yeah. Michael Ruse went to Eastern Washington.
Yeah, the red, because they're red. Because they're all, I think their field is red.
Their turf is red, and their stadium is named after Michael Ruse. Chris Johnson went to Eastern Carolina or East Carolina.
I don't know who went to Eastern Michigan.
I think Jason Jones did.
So good job. You got that right.
Don't mess with me.
Well, I got you on back-to-back Super Bowls yesterday, and then you got one the other day.
Eagle. Eastern Michigan Eagle, Jason Jones.
Jason Jones.
Jason Jones is a good player. 3rd-round pick for the Titans. Good player there back in the day. He's 35 years old. Time moves. All right, guys. So we are now moving on. Let's wrap up this week with Ain't That Good News. Ain't That Good News every Friday to send us to the weekend. But real quick, let me tell you guys about Renters Warehouse and renterswarehouse.com, the professional landlords in the Nashville area. Just go to renterswarehouse.com to find out how much your home can rent for. There's so many different ways you can use them to your benefit to create extra income, extra cash flow, and help you start that retirement plan. Because a great way to earn long-term wealth is through equity of owning property, and Renters Warehouse does all of the hard work for you. You just get paid. That's it. Renters Warehouse does everything for one low flat rate a month at renterswarehouse.com.
A to Z Sports, we're powered by BetMGM. Download the app today on your app store. Use that promo code. We've got you hooked up, and especially today, speaking of college football, ATOZ100, no spaces, ATOZ100, $1 money line wager will win you $100 if either college football team scores a touchdown. So use that promo code for new users. They got you hooked up.
Sure do. It is time for Ain't That Good News. I'll let you start. You're in Dallas. You're headed home later this morning, I believe. But you've been in Dallas for most of this week, getting us ready for last night's Thursday Night Football opener for the Cowboys and our game day show with Will Steele and Jesse Holley. So I will let you start with your good news.
Yeah, well, my good news actually goes to that because after last night calculating all of them, man, it was a success. I'm very proud. I'll just go ahead and kind of introduce you guys to some of our team. I mean, A to Z Sports is probably pushing 25 employees. These are a good core group, but it goes beyond this. But last night, we got Will Steele on the left, who is our morning show host, Nick Wallace, who is our sales associate right here in Dallas. You see me right there in the middle. And then Jesse Holley, former Dallas Cowboys wide receiver. That is my good news. Over 16,000 views yesterday and last night for just the pregame, halftime, and postgame show as we officially launch that endeavor and that market heading into this year. This is our first game. We hadn't even started the season, and we had 16,000 views on our pregame, halftime, and postgame show. And the best thing that I think for me and us and our company and what we've been building here, it is hard work. I don't want to deny that. But the whole goal of A to Z Sports is bigger than just talking Titans or me and Austin arguing. It's grown to, we are trying to give more people the experience of what you guys experience every single morning. It's just trying to spread the wealth of being a part of somebody's day in a different way and not listening to the radio or turning on the TV. And man, we're really proud of what we built. And my good news, 16K week 1. Sky's the limit.
That's
I think
awesome.
just like the picture goes, we're trending up from left to right. We're trending up.
I got questions on this picture. So Jesse Holley is obviously a former NFL player. You're a pretty big, like you're what, like 6'2"?
Yeah, 6'2" and a half.
So 6'2", 6'3" with tennis shoes on, right? So how tall is Jesse Holley?
I mean, he's got to be. Well, we can look it up. He's got to be 6'4".
Because he is also like hunched over towards you. So, and then like Will Steele, I've never seen Will Steele in person. I've only talked with him over the last handful of months since like March. We've been talking with Will just via Zoom, right? So Jesse's a big dude. You guys stair-stepped it pretty well right there in that photo.
And we didn't even know that. We looked at the photo, and that's when we figured it out. But Jesse is big. I mean,
he's a big dude.
He is a big dude, right?
Because he also played college basketball at UNC. So like, big dude overall. But no, I watched a decent chunk of the pregame show. I watched some of the halftime show, and postgame I was asleep right after that final whistle went. But no, I think that was really fun to watch. It looked fantastic with their setup there at Texas Live in the brewery. And so it's just the beginning of really what this company's vision is to have it play out. So big night last night for A to Z Sports as a whole, as A to Z Sports Dallas got going. And just to remind you guys, on Sunday, we've got our Titan coverage live at the Mainstay with pregame at 11:30, halftime show, postgame show. So if you're going to the Cardinals game, come to the Mainstay before and after. Come hang out with us. They're at the Mainstay right off of Main Street and Spring Street, like 2 blocks away from Nissan Stadium. Let's see. Kelkins is throwing shade on Zach on a Friday for clarifying your extra half inch of height. Steph Dobbs thinking Jesse's like 6'4". So other good news to read here this morning. Lucas says good news. He got the first leg of his parlay last night. 9 more legs to go. I also had the Bucs in a 5-leg parlay in the NFL. And so I was kind of sweating that last night. I was like, damn, I thought that was going to be an easier leg. Sean says his son won his first game back since the COVID outbreak at the house. He played a really good game with only 1 practice in nearly 2 weeks. They won 21-0 against their rival school. Well, apparently,
shout out to Sean. We know he's been struggling with COVID over the last week or so. So good to see that the family is back up and running. And
while we're on the topic, shout out to Terry McCormick, who mentioned last night on Twitter that he is battling COVID. Looked like Terry was in the hospital. So Terry McCormick, longtime beat writer of the Tennessee Titans, working through COVID. So hopefully Terry gets back out there covering the team sooner rather than later. So I hope Terry fights through that and gets better. Did want to mention that. My good news, Zach, is football related, just as yours, but it's not about the game that I'm going to be watching. But one of our friends, Travis Haney, moved back to Nashville after being out of Nashville for 3 years or so. Travis and I are going to go watch Vols Pitt tomorrow. So getting to hang out with Travis for the first time in a while. Travis was the officiant at our wedding, so good to see him tomorrow.
He's a big Healy guy too.
Yes, big Healy guy. So I will tell Travis, like, Will Healy wins that game. Will Healy beats ETSU.
Of course. It's like asking your buddy if you guys were the baddest in high school. Of course we were. Yeah, absolutely.
I thought about tweeting that over the weekend. Will Healy beats ETSU, but I was like, I don't want to deal with that.
It's too far-fetched. We'll see what Clark Lee can follow up. If he loses to Colorado State, that's unacceptable.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. Hope you guys have a great weekend of football. I mentioned at 11:30 for our Titans pregame show at the Mainstay, but guys, Big Orange halftime and postgame show with Jonathan Crompton and Charlie Burris will be live at halftime of the Vols Pitt game tomorrow with a postgame show directly after that game. Look, nobody can break down Vols quarterback play like Jonathan Crompton. He does a great job at that. I think Joe Milton gives him an opportunity to kind of flex his knowledge on the position. And Charlie Burris does a great job, too, of hosting that show. So a lot of stuff going on. A to Z is live 7 days a week now, moving forward. No days off.
That is true.
Yeah. All right, guys. Hope you have a great weekend. We will see you Sunday live at the Mainstay for Titans Cardinals. Appreciate it.